Bonnie Gunny, everyone. This is Professor Rahh, Professor Emeritus, California State University, Long Beach Africana Studies Department. We want to welcome you here to the Conscious Corner for a discussion on about our people and their struggle to make life better for themselves and the world. And that's a very critical uh, adventure that we're on as far as making this earth better for all. But we're going to discuss, where do we start? What is the struggle? Where do we start to make the better? And how do we make the better world? Each person is in their own world. Each person is in their own world. How you see it, how you feel it, and how you live it. So we begin with the children. We struggle to come into being. That's called birth. One of the challenges we have, and always have, is raising our children in a racist environment. And many of our parents knew it was racist, understood it was racist. And some of them didn't want to talk about it because of the viciousness of the Europeans when you begin to talk race talk. But we're talking about how we should raise our young people. And so there's really 4 disciplines that we are responsible for in a family setting. And the first one is family discipline. We're all born into families or relationships for the most part. Some are dysfunctional and non-operational, but some are functional. And so one of the ingredients that go into family discipline, well, love is the most important thing. Not just love when the child is born, but throughout their life, we as parents or guardians of them must develop a sense of love. And that love is let them know that we have a deep affection and caring for them. We have to win the hearts of their mind while they're young. Because as some scriptures say, you may be in the world, but don't be of the world. We say it differently. We say, don't let the world change you, change the world. But you have to maintain love in that relationship. And you got to win their love. It's a reciprocal situation. And you got to teach them how to love sometimes at an early age. And that's a critical thing. You know, most people don't realize, you know, they're affectionate toward their children. And then as they grow, they get less affectionate, less kissing, less hugging, less time with each other. Sometimes you just let them go and grow, let them get out, which is okay, as long as they carry the love of home with them and the love of family with them wherever they go. So that's a very important element of disciplining a child. And that's very, very critical because I can't tell you how to raise your children. I'm just talking about principles that could lead to your child becoming a very conscientious, motivated, and a sense of give your child a purpose and a sense of direction. and that aspect. Love is not, you don't have to beat it in them. It's just showing affection and showing deep concern, even when they make mistakes or do things wrong. You discipline them with love and understanding and teach them why you disciplining them so that they can remember not to do what they did before. It's very important. We assume that everybody know how to raise children just because they have children, but they don't. They have a tendency to just let them grow like weeds, and it's like you think they grow and automatically know how to discipline themselves and how to take care of themselves, and in that love, you teach them what communications. I mean, that's what come here, boy, come here, girl or gal, come here. You teach them those things. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do this. That's a part of discipline. Then you teach them the importance of effective communication. Not only do you want them to listen to you, you listen to them. So when they become cognitive enough, around 6, 7, you begin to dialogue and discuss things with them as a family. But you have to have your family structured that way. You can't have one family giving love and another family not showing it. You gotta prepare for a child to be born by discussing how we're gonna raise them. Most people just have babies, and the baby don't have no purpose other than to live. And instead of letting them develop a purpose through love and through effective communication. So you learn how to communicate with them, effective communication. That's very critical. Now, these are the things that you teach your children when they're going to have children. I mean, you can reflect on your parents. I know most of us are grown. Most of our children are adults. But this is not about our situation. This is about the future generation. This is about raising our children for our future and continuation of our existence as a Black people on this planet Earth. So love and communications is very important. It is not with corporal punishment that you communicate. It's not with a bunch of cussing and screaming and hollering. You do it in a warm, affectionate way with regards to communicating. It's very important. But you as a parent have to be in good physical shape, mental shape, and spiritual shape. And that requires you to, in a sense, sit down. Let's say you got granddaughters, a grandson that don't have children or have them. And you see that sibling is not right and not acting right. Sometimes you can just make suggestions to your kids. Maybe you need to spend more time with them, or maybe you need to show more love toward them and get them back into the fold where they be able to understand that you win in the hearts and minds of them. Even if it takes you to, take them places and do things with them and support them in their adventure. But at the same time, you as a parent must realize that this is not just parenting, it's the principle of teaching them the important elements of family discipline, accountability, holding them accountable. I mean, you got to run, you don't have to, but households must be run just for, not just for right now, but for the future. And so it's a very challenging situation when it comes down to raising children to be to win the hearts and minds of your child. So you got love and you got effective communication. And sometimes you have to teach them organization, the importance of maintenance of their bodies and their environment, the importance of hanging up their clothes, the importance of making up their bed, the importance of putting their toys up, games or whatever, and even teaching them how to deal with um, cyber space. You can't be on your phone all the time. You don't take it from them. You just say, man, I got to trust you. You got to do your work. You got things to do. Now, the best way to keep them off their phone is keep them busy. Keep off their computer. Keep them focused. Most parents, and I know Mshinda run across a lot of young ladies and young men that are parents, but they're not parenting. I mean, that's you see, we always want to know what is our problem, and we got a lot of people. I don't understand today's children, and when you say you don't understand today's children, what you're saying is you don't know them, and what you're saying is that you haven't studied them, and get to know them, and get to understand how to communicate effective, and how to teach them to reciprocate the love you put into them, that they are responsible for showing you love back. You understand? I mean, you're a team. You're not uh, just family members on a hand and everybody go their separate ways. It don't go that way. You're together in unity. And that's very important. So organization is a very important element of family discipline. Now, especially for Black children, because of the situation that we're in as Black people. You can't have your kids thinking they white or live in a white world, having white dreams, and thinking that they're not going to face the challenges of being African in America. Now you can act like, hey, we're in a Black community, so it's all right. But white folks come into your community, highway patrol, doctors, business people, and they have a lot of power, and they can confuse your child with their mass media, even watching television or watching the movies. Sometimes you have to explain the purpose of these movies and discuss what did you get out of this from a standpoint. I know this is a challenging to listen to because we're all grown and we all did what we had to do. But this is about us educating others and teaching others from what we've learned about how to win the hearts and minds of our youth, both girls and boys. It doesn't matter. You know, they had an old saying in the 60s, we love our girls and raise our boys. You understand? And what they meant by that is that you're always patient and loving and caring for the girl, but you let the boy just raise him to be a worker, be whatever he's going to pursue. Just let him go. Even in Latino communities, they have a thing called being a macho man or a man child at 16. The girl they have a 16 coming out party, the same thing with the young man that, it's a time for him to be his own man and stuff. Well, they just got here. 16 years ain't no time. And the same thing with the young man. It's very critical. Organization, they're teaching them and training them, teaching and training, disciplining them and training them to be organized is very crucial. Now, I taught parenting classes for years at Stop the Violence, Increase the Peace Foundation. I found out many parents didn't know what crack was. Many parents didn't know what vaping was. Many parents just didn't know, and many of them were out of shape. They couldn't keep up with their children. They didn't know what their children were doing at any given time. And they just let them go. You want to go outside? Go ahead. We're going out and speak, be with my boys. Go ahead. And not really checking out who your boys are. And teaching them how to choose friends and discuss with them the importance of getting someone that share your values. Not you share theirs unless they're the same as yours. But, that's very critical. I remember growing up, my parents didn't know where I was half the time or what I was doing. And, I was doing all kind of crazy stuff. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we need to really refocus on they're not going to teach this in school. They're not going to teach this even in college. This is a situation where we have to do this by having a vision that baby's going to grow up and be a man and a woman. And you don't want them to be depressed. You don't want them to feel loneliness, emptiness, and you want to earn their respect by showing caring and loving and affection and involvement in their lives and guidance. I mean, you're already successful parents. Some aren't. Some may not even be with their kids and things of this nature. But when they do come around you, you don't must, but it's suggested that you show them love, you show them communication, and you show them organization. And that they love being around that because it's peaceful and it's important. So you teach them that they can come to you and talk to you about anything, and you won't hold it against them. But you will hold it against them if they don't talk to you about problems or issues that they have. So it's very important sometimes to have family meetings where you ask them, is anything bothering you or anything happening at school? If you have any problems, just call me. Don't you try to handle it. That's my job. I don't care if it's bullies. I don't care if it's teacher that's dogging you. You tell me about that. I have to protect you, especially at an early age. And that's very critical. But at the same time, you got to, you don't got to, but it's suggested that you really emphasize the importance of letting the child know that you got their back. and providing a sense of stabilization. What I mean by that, sometimes economic hardship can prevent you from being an effective parent. If you're moving every so often because of evictions or because they went up on the rent, and you haven't bought a home, and you're just moving, and where you can. Sometimes you have to move back with your parents. Sometimes you just have to do what you got to do. Well, you have to adjust your affections in raising the child to that level of your condition. But if you are able to provide some stability is very crucial in a family development. You want that, you really want that child to be secure and know that the house is going to be there, food's going to be there, warmth and a sense of joy and peace is going to be there at the house, not chaos. I remember in one sociology class I had, they talked about the difference of white homes and black homes, and that you may go in a black home and music is playing, and everybody's in different rooms and loud. And in a white home, it's more different. This, and this is quiet. This, and that. It's like going to a white church versus a black church, especially if you're going to a sanctified church where they dance and holler and talk in tongues and things of that nature, versus a white church where they just lecture. They don't preach. And many of them, even though they started preaching, created preaching in the beginning. But the point is that's very critical, that you always, effective communication is your tone and your ability to read the situation. Effective communication means you may not talk to the child about the issue right away, but you wait till they're eating or wait till they calm down and then whatever problem they're having, so that you can be effective as a parent. And this is all discipline. This is raising a child to face the reality that of their environment. Like your governance on that child is very important as far as knowing where they are and who they with at all times. Even when they get to be 12 and 13. Who you with, where you at, call and check in. You train them that way. So let me know. You say you're going down the street, okay. Call me when you get over to their house or whatever. Make sure that they have a sense of accountability to you. This is something that you don't see too much, but it's very important. The little things is what disrupt a family and disrupt a relationship. And so it's critical as Black children, while I'm teaching the Black child development, I had to go through these dynamics because and the students would come up to me and say, I didn't think of that. I didn't know that. I didn't see things that way. They didn't start having a baby with just having a baby, a child. And all you do is just love them up to a certain age and you let them go. No, you continue to love them throughout their life. And you continue to have open communication, and you continue to push organization, and you talk about those issues of how families supposed to work together in unity. If it's one child, two child, three child, the same formula goes for no matter how many children you have. and you create a culture in your home, and that you are the deity. You are the one that they have a sense of identifying with as a leader and as the one that's going to keep them safe. Even if you're a single parent, these principles are very important for you. And we as an African people, sometimes we have a tendency to not realize the importance of these dynamics, and we lose focus on them as we grow older. But you got to stay focused. So then after that, you have love, you have communication, you have organization, and then you have a sense of, developing guidance. And that means that you try to get the child to be multi-talented and multi-skilled. Like you see what they need to know and learn. Just don't send them out to public schools without a sense of purpose. And most kids just think they go to school because you send them. Most kids think you go to school because it's a law. No, you go to school to learn. And you go to school with a purpose to achieve. So you be monitoring your child in school, their attendance, their homework, their progress, and you give them incentives, hopefully, to achieve in those schools the type of things that you need. And what I mean by that is that we all know our children need to learn Spanish in California. They need to learn computers. Now, if you're in school districts that don't have it, you sometimes may have to go out and find tutors or libraries that offer classes like that for kids, or foundations that's offering classes for kids. Or you go ahead and just YouTube it, as far as learning it. But, it's hard because math and foreign language is homework every day. Every day. Every day. I'm not talking about arithmetic. You can remember that, your timetables and all that. I'm talking about written problems and learning how to speak a foreign language and all of that. That requires you to really become proficient in it. And you got to give your kid a sense of direction of that. If you don't want to go to college, here are the things you need to learn. You understand? What we were, when we were growing up, and I think Brother Hembrick could attest to this, he's on, we were just told to go out and find a job. But they didn't tell us, while we was in school, how to get the skills to pass the test for certain jobs, and how to develop the skills for certain jobs and learn those things. I mean that's very critical. But the point is that these dynamics that I'm going over may seem elementary, but if you take a step out and look and see how many people raising their children that don't involve love, communication, organization, and a sense of communication, and this purpose and direction, it throws out. That's our responsibility as parents, to give them a sense of purpose. And their purpose is what? To be good, do good in the world, to be the best that they can be as human beings. But at the same time, you teach them how to defend themselves. And you teach them how to de-escalate issues and not be a part of the wildness in life. I mean, you'd be surprised at what goes on in public schools that kids are exposed to. I mean, you'd be surprised at the teachers and the environment that these young people are subject to in public schools and some private schools, with regards to sex and with regards to drugs and with regards to other truancy, with regards to all those things they're exposed to. So you teach them that they're responsible for who they are, where they are, and where they're going. And that's just one aspect of this. The 4 stages, we just on family, just family, or household. You understand? We just on that, and that's important of you preparing and sitting down with your mate, male or female, and discuss and getting on the same page with regards to how we gonna raise the child. And one of the main things we want that child to learn, one, that you love them. Second, that you expect for them to love you back for the love you give them. And how they love you back by not being a problem, not being an issue, and by following your direction and consultation. If you're in your right mind, you gotta be in your right mind. I mean, but you'd be surprised if the parents that's not in their right mind drink in front of their kid, they smoke weed in front of their kid, they lie, they cuss, they watch TV, they're on the phone before they even look at their children. Just go by a public school and watch the parents that pick their kids up. Just watch them. They don't even speak to the kid. They get in the car and they on the phone. They ain't even, no hug, no hey, how you doing? No, just they talking all the time. Never asking the kid, how was your day? What's going on? Just where you want to go get something? McDonald's? Where you want to go? Jack in the Box, Taco Bell, and give you something to eat and go to sleep. But I'm still on the phone all day as a parent. And you don't have no time for the child. You understand? And this is very critical in educating our children to be parents. But whenever you run into a situation, people seek advice. You got to educate yourself on how to be a good parent and how to run a household and how to teach the children the importance of maintenance and hygiene and the importance. I mean, they used to make us brush our teeth. They used to make us gargle. They used to make us clean our rooms and some, but many parents don't do that. And then we run into situations where you got children running away because they say your parents are too strict. You got people, that's why love is the personal thing. Everything you're teaching them is out of love. Love can cover every area that I'm talking about. And you got to explain to them that this is about love. Because they think it's about you trying to tell them what to do or trying to get in their business. And it's the same thing with some parents can't go in their own kid's room because the kids say, this is my privacy. You understand? Do that make sense to you? You're paying the rent, you feeding them, and they won't let you look in their room. I mean, you gotta let them know that, hey, look, I gotta come in here and see what's going on. I'm not spying on you. I'm just making sure that you are showing love and respect for yourself and for the family. You understand? And I mean, it's very critical. But getting back to the dynamics of spending time and putting energy in it, You have to be in shape as a parent, physical, mental, and spiritual. It's very crucial for raising children in this day and age. It's always been this way, but at the same time, we've we've learned more about the system than our parents knew about it. We know more about this system and its institutions than our parents knew about it. Many of them, some did know, but there's a lot that didn't, and they were spending more time working than feeding, and they called that parenting for the most part. So, but anyway, those are just some of the stages within the family, but the spirituality of it, introducing your family members to spirituality is very difficult. You know, some parents, the only way you went to church, your parents took you. And we ain't talking about just going to church. Spirituality and church is two different things. Teaching that birds have a spirit, animals have a spirit. I mean, when we was coming up, we see a cat, we just throw a rock at it. We see a dog, we throw rocks at it. Not seeing that they're animals. And they ain't did nothing to you, but you just say, I'm going to rock this, hit this cat or hit this dog. Or I'm going to get a BB gun and shoot at the birds. You understand? Or pigeons or whatever. You teach them that life is, you treat everything and everybody with a sense of affection and caring. You got some kids that naturally um, uh, attracted to animals, but you got most kids that for whatever reason, they decide to dominate the animal or punish the animal for no reason, just because they have the power over it. You understand? I mean, you never let your kid raise roosters to fight or dogs to fight, or catch. I remember we used to catch a spider and put them in a bottle with a bunch of ants and watch the ants fight with them and all that type of stuff. Just crazy madness. You understand? I mean, we was adventurous, but without you teaching the children that every insect, every plant. I mean, it's like going home and messing up somebody's garden. garden for no reason. No, just walk on that lawn, walk on and just tear up stuff, or just throw a rock through somebody's window out of frustration. And this is the type of things that you have to foresee children having that type of a mentality. You don't think they had that type of mentality until police bring them home and say they done did this and did that. And you don't want that to happen. So it's very important that I got to put my battery in. This thing is battery going low. I didn't know it was going low. And so you have to keep an eye on them. You know, I know I had a policy. None of my kids ever walked to school. None of them ever walked to school or walked home. Because I knew my environment. And I knew that they were subject to anything possibly happening, from grown men going after your daughters, or gang members bullying your children, or they just be in a crossfire. I mean, you got to alleviate your worries also and let them know why you pick them up and why you bring them home and why you think that that's important. So the safety is very important. And that goes along with that love that we talked about, practicing safety and being safe. And you have to teach them how to think for themselves. It's like teaching them how to cross the street. And you teach them go on the yellow light, go on the red light, you go on the green light. And you walk them across the street until they learn how to walk themselves. But at the same time, you don't think that you can just don't tell them or don't develop a sense of how to cross the street, and then one of them get hit by a car and you get mad. And so my point is that these are just footnotes of the family discipline. There's so much discipline that goes into the family and accountability. And going back to spirituality, you teach them that all things are created by the Creator. You understand? Are coming to existence for a purpose. Each and one of them insects, each and one of them animals have a purpose for being on earth like you have a purpose. And you don't just be cruel to animals, insects, and things. Now listen, your house is full of rats and full of roaches and stuff. Yeah, you have to exterminate. You have to get them out your house. I'm not saying you don't go around and say, "Oh, we let the roaches run. They're okay. Let the rats live." No, you gotta get them out because they carry diseases. You understand? And that's harmful to you. And that's part of your safety net. But you'd be surprised at the people that don't care about those type of things. And you see on TV where people just become pack rats in their garage or and I'm guilty of that, just throw things in the garage. But at the same time, when you have youth, you tell them, hey, look, we got things that we ain't going to use, we got to give away or throw away. Give away or throw away. There's no need in piling up junk that we ain't going to never mess around with. Now, if you're saving it because one day it may become an antique or a valuable item, it's like baseball cards or funny books or whatever. That's one thing. But keep them organized and keep them in a nice place. Don't just have them everywhere. If you value them, you teach them that. But getting back to spirituality, I want to touch on that. Have you ever had a discussion with your children about where life originated from? Um, and why the sun is X miles away, and why the earth and the galaxy. I know they learned it at school, but they're just learning the science at school, learning the spirituality of how all this came into being. Even if nobody knows, have a name for the spiritual concept. The spirit's not only in the universe, outside of you, it's in you. That's why they can detect lies when you're lying. Your body lets them know you lying. On a lie detector. And when you get ready to do something, fight, your whole chemistry in your body change. And so this is a a challenge of everything. Now, sometimes, in households and in families, you have conflict, and it's unfortunate. You hope your children are grown, or you hope that people are grown can understand that sometimes people grow apart, men and women, and for the best interest of them and everybody, you have to separate because you don't want no problem. And it's very difficult, but you have to sit down and let them know that, hey, I'm still here for you. I still love you. You can always come to me for something, no matter what. Now, what the other person do that's on them, but you maintain that strong discipline and relationship with them. You see, that's very critical. But I think it's, if you're dealing with male-female relationships and marriage and divorces and separations, that's a whole new different ball game. The people may separate, but the values, the love, the organization, the communication organization, purpose and direction and spirituality stays the same with you. If you implanted in them right, see, the mark of a good child is how they act when you ain't around, not when you're around. I used to have to tell my sister that when she would go to jail, she'd say, I ain't gonna be on the streets no more. I'm not gonna smoke no more weed. I'm not gonna do it. I say, it's easy to say that when you're in jail. It's when you come out is the problem. Can you handle the temptation? Can you handle the streets once you get out? And when you're grown, it's very hard to correct because you have to choose to be a good parent, an effective parent. And I know some of you have raised some dynamic children. Brother Joe Hembrick daughter's a doctor. Brother McBride, all his families were taught skills and working and loving and caring and loyalty and things of this nature. Some worked out, some didn't. In all our families. This formula is not necessarily a guarantee, but it's one element that's very crucial for us to think about. So we think about how do we solve our problems? We may not solve our problems from a historical standpoint. We may not be able to solve our problems from a present standpoint. But for the future, the best cure to any problem is prevention. So you try to teach your children not to make the mistakes you made or that you've seen others make with their lives. You can be a great kid up to 18, and you're an adult, and you make a mistake when you're 18, it cancels out all that good stuff you did before you became 18. You get a felony, and it's very hard for you to find any type of employment or to get that rap sheet off of you, no matter how good you are. And you got to teach them. That's very important. But that comes with another stage of discipline. This is just the family stage of discipline. Most people think discipline is done with the rod. They've never tried to use love as a disciplinary instrument. You understand? And caring and talking and communication and in an effective way. I mean, you'd be surprised. Many of us grew up, we got whipped, paddled at school or at home. But many of us raised our children, we never hit them. And they did way better than what we were when we were young. So we did it with love and care and watchful eyes and doing those things. So those are the dynamics of what we call family discipline. And there's another stage called social discipline, which we'll get into later. But we're going to get some questions, responses to what I've been talking about. Anybody have anything they want to add? Or let me know if I'm on the wrong track.
I wanted to add something to what you were talking about.
Go ahead.
And I want to share the screen because I think that a lot of people think love is this all of the emotional thing. You know, they've been taught or being socialized that love is this overly emotional and
Intimate.
yeah, intimacy and all of that. But I wrote a paper with two of my colleagues maybe about 5 months ago. I just want to share a little bit of it, and it's the definition that we came up with because it was shared, and we had two definitions. So the definition that I primarily came up with, and then my colleague came up with one, which was a female. So you got a male perspective and you got a female perspective. So love is actions expressed by people to provide the best constructive outcomes to the entire environment where they reside. Example, if my actions have constructive outcomes to the people and the physical environment around me, then I'm expressing love, verbalized or not. And then the second one is love is a feeling that's built through actions and relations to one's values and beliefs. It is a feeling that connects your mind, body, and soul to someone who share common ground. See, that was more of a feeling type thing, but mine was more of a just straight almost, I wouldn't even say, I don't know the correct word to use, but it's almost like the business of loving. So that's, and then the paper has a few other components talking about love. And this was inspired by my daughter. So so this is the three people that had input on this paper. But yeah, I had to kind of write something about it because, you know, my daughter kind of sparked me. So I said, let me write something about love. So that's on the website if you go to Perspective Writings.
You know, and let me just comment on that. You also have to have joy and fun. You have joy and fun together. You have to teach them to enjoy. You enjoy them, and they enjoy being with you. It's not about romance, being romantic, but it is about cultivating that emotion in them that make them have a sense of joy and appreciation of the time they spend with you. That they know that it ain't all business. That y'all can laugh together. You gotta have some humor in your family. You must have joy. And that's very important. The element of love also. Ernest, you have anything?
Well, the only thing you were just saying, like when you were raised up, because that's how our parents raised us. Like, remember to say you should respect, every living thing, and respect starts in the home. And say you should, and listen to people, try to be a good listener, and treat everyone with kindness. and my mother used to always say, you stand up for, like you were just saying earlier about you stand up for yourself, but always respect the other person. Don't try to down someone, because you maybe got more than they got, or maybe you're more educated than they are. Because my dad used to tell me, so you can learn something by listening to every person you meet. So you might meet a wino down there on the street corner, and you listen to him, you can learn something from that encounter. And so you just about hit the nail on the head. We've always said, hey, it starts here with you, and then if you kindness, show kindness and respect to other people, and then you'll gain respect. So two-way street. So
On the continent of Africa, many of the communities, they looked at life different. When they got ready to cut down a tree, they would say, "I'm sorry, tree, but I need you. I need you to build this or to do this." Or when they got ready to kill an animal for food, they would talk to. They had no fences around their community to keep the animals out. They had no police. The word police, there was no such a thing as jails and things of this nature. They all worked in a sense of unity for a common purpose of living in peace with the environment. And that all things, may they be solid or live, are important. And that as long as they don't become a pest. I mean, I know a friend of mine that went to Africa, and he said that when he got there, he thought it was going to be different. And he went into a place to sleep, and there were bats in there. And he said, "Man, why? How we get rid of these bats?" And the African picked one up and just threw him out the place. He said, "That's what you do. You just throw them out." You understand? And that shocked the guy. They came back. They couldn't hang. You understand? Because they looked at life totally different. You understand? Than the person living in America, where anything you don't like, you're scared of, and that you kill it. You kill it right then and there. You understand? So, but you're right, Ernest. I mean, some parents taught you to respect all people and all things, but many parents didn't. I mean, conflict, you got to be able to handle conflict and that and things of this nature. Brother Hembrick, you there?
You're right about these kids, because I worked campus security for the high school for about, my niece talked me into it because I was retired. And man, them kids, I'm telling you, it seems to me a cell phone is one of the biggest problems they got. Is, because they don't think nothing of walking out of the class and standing outdoors on the phone when they should be in there listening to instructions.
Yeah.
I see they made a rule here in Long Beach. I think they're going to confiscate those phones in the mornings when you come in. No cell phones allowed.
It's going to be hard.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
But let me just tell you.
But see,
That's a parent.
kind of like you. I came up and there was no television. All we had was radio. Television didn't come out to the early 50s. So we raised up, listening to the radio, and we'd hear radio programs like The Whistler and Inner Sanctum, little scary stuff. And then most of the time, our mother was a great orator when she was coming up, and she used to memorize poems by Paul Laurence Dunbar. And at night after dinner, man, we couldn't wait to hear her, sit down and recite a poem. And some of her favorite ones was In the Morning by Paul Dunbar, and that was people. A lot of people think the name of it was Little Liza Jane, and she do it in the Negro Pidgin, the way the slaves taught, man, word for word. And then she'd do another one called The Colored Soldiers of Ham and Gunga Din. And boy, those were our favorites. So that's how we got, if we weren't listening to Inner Sanctum or something, of President Roosevelt and his dog Fife on the radio, she was reciting poetry to us. So, and we had a great time. So, so we wasn't really affected by TVs and stuff.
And even if you did have a TV, you only had, what, about 8 stations?
Yeah, right.
And at midnight, they went off.
Yeah, right.
Brother Ahi, you there?
Yeah. I think everybody hit it right on the head. Love is a verb. It's an action word. You got to have something behind it. You got to move with it. It's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take being inconvenienced, and it's going to take a lot of time. But I was thinking about just a change in our families now, and how it's not, you can't take for granted that both parents are going to be in the household.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, we're starting to see, if it's not on even numbers, it's probably more prevalent that it's going to be a single mother household,
Mhm.
which was my particular case. I really made some bad choices when choosing a mother for my children. We just didn't click like that. But I was talking to you earlier, Professor Rahh. I was in Charlotte this past. Went to visit my sister for the Turkey Day, and we went to my cousin and I. We went and watched the Michigan and Ohio State game, and this white gentleman came in into the lounge, and turns out he was from Detroit also. We were both kind of pulling for Michigan. And he got to talking about his experience as a teacher and a coach, as a football coach in the city, not too far from where I live. And he was talking about he had experience with 41 children between the ages of like 9 and 12. And uh, he got to rambling about all of these children, with maybe exception of one, live in a single mama household, and their grandmama's raising them, and disparity and all this kind of stuff. And I knew it was kind of full of it. And it just so happened, while I'm sitting there listening to him and checking him out, and I said, this guy, he's going on and on. Professor Rahh calls me. So I said, hey, what's happening, Professor Rahh? And you were just calling to check up on me. And this was in the middle of this guy was talking. And he heard me say your name. And it changed the whole temperament. But this is just this false narrative that he's exaggerating, but it is something to look at these days in loving these children and having access to both parents. And I most of the time they do have access to both parents. It's just that they're living with one. And that changes the whole dynamic, because these guys, our children, our young boys, are picking up a lot of feminine, I don't want to say traits, but practices. And from style to hairstyles to temperament, and disposition. So, I mean, that is something that we have to look at, but we still love them. We love our children. We love our boys. We're in a different time with different dynamic happening around us in the family dynamics. And but it don't stop. We push on. We push on, and love is taking time with these young people and treating them like they're people and
Yeah.
having consistency
Uh,
and talking to them and not at them.
that's
So
important.
yeah.
That's important. And I like the way you get out all the time. But I mean, you be all over the place, and I like that because you learn when you travel. And Charlotte, like I told you, my daughter went to
Right.
Johnson C. Smith, and I went
Right.
to her graduation, and it's a whole new different set. Charlotte is a whole new different set.
Mm-hmm.
That's the that's the main city in Charlotte, North Carolina. You
It's
know,
growing. You know, it's about 5 times the size of Detroit.
yeah.
And it hasn't, it's just reaching 1 million people there.
Uh,
But there's construction all over there. And it's like a reverse migration. You see how people are going back to the South
uh,
from Georgia to Alabama and the Carolinas.
yeah, well, they got good reason. They
Yeah.
got good reason. And sometimes you can't blame them.
Oh, I don't blame them at all.
You can't blame them for getting up out of here. And this place is going mad. As
Right.
far as now they're talking about going after the Somalians in Minnesota. You know,
Yeah.
talking about
And the Haitians.
I don't want them in my country. In my country, they don't deserve to be here.
Yeah.
Earth belongs to everybody. God said so. The Creator said so. But anyway, that's where it goes. Well,
Pastor
Rash,
Rock,
yeah,
Pastor Rock, you didn't get it. We didn't hear from Hembrick.
he didn't answer. I called on him.
No, Ernest had said something, so that's why he stopped.
Brother Hembrick, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I let Brother Ernest go ahead on and speak since he wasn't finished. So I just appreciating the topic tonight. Just to add a little, I kind of tuned in about 5, 6 minutes late. But raising these children, when you have children, your life kind of has to get put on hold or stop because you got somebody to look after and raise. In terms of mine, I was speaking to her when she was still in her mama's stomach. I used to speak to her and talk to her, before she even came out. Uh, and as far as those early stages, you got to watch them. You got to see what kind of personality they develop. And I used to look at my daughter through the window playing with the little girl next door, and then school her, when she came in, because the little girl be trying to bully her. And I told her, I said, you got to stand up for yourself. It's your toys. You ain't gonna let nobody just, bogart your stuff from you, and it's yours. Uh, but anyway, you got to keep them busy. I agree with that. There was no television for her Monday through Thursday. Kept her in music, tutors, what do you call that? Japanese abacus class and music class. She learned how to play the flute. The first was the piano, flute, and violin eventually. Uh, she had a great priest teacher. Uh, she's fluent in Spanish. She minored in Spanish. She had to know that. Any kind of computer stuff, I gotta ask her. I don't know how to do jack hardly with that. And she's reaching her goal, doing a great, uh, having some great experiences in her internship. Uh, as a pathologist, which that's her choosing, dealing with dead folks and all of the stuff that goes along with that. But a lot of parents don't know what parenting is. I agree with you on that point. They too busy trying to keep their life going, with the stuff they like to do and be about. But gotta be on top of them kids. And when I was administrator in Compton, I used to, at staff meetings, I used to talk because the teachers, they already had the kids set up for failure, had, referrals read out with the kid's name on the kid ain't even came to class yet. And I would tell the teachers, the way these kids are growing up with crack and gang banging, all the effects it had on the black community, you have to have a little more empathy for a kid when they come to you. You don't know what they've been dealing with last night, on the way to school, if they got any money in their pocket to eat, these sort of things. You have to have a lot more empathy, for your students. We had a little policy about, no earrings and no hats for a while. And so I had this kid, come find out he was a group home kid. He just totally refused to take his hat off. So they sent him to me. Come on, young man, what's on? We got this policy. So you can't wear no hats, man. Man, Mr. Hembrick, I gotta wear this hat because my hair is messed up. I said, let me see. He took his hat off and used to have an expression, soldiers with their fists balled up as far as hair went, coarseness of the hair. So I called one of my former students who was a barber, who I used to let cut hair on campus because he was kind of homeless, so he can get his, make his little money. I said, man, it's time for payback. I need you to come pick this kid up, cut his hair, and bring him back to school. And that kid was so proud of his haircut that he had. It didn't stop him from getting in, issues and whatnot, but at least he stopped wearing his hat.
Mm-hmm.
I would break up dice games and take all the money and go find a kid that looked hungry and get the money to the kid, stuff like that. So you gotta, dealing with kids today, you kind of got to be like a doctor. You got to diagnose the issue that they have, first of all, before you can apply any remedy to try to help them resolve the issues. But anyway, a great subject tonight. Glad to hear it kind of reinforce a lot of the stuff that I did. I know, prior to my daughter being born, I was doing a lot of wild, crazy stuff my damn self. And then, but when you're holding that little infant in your arms, you got to get to thinking, first of all, do I want to be around to make sure they get what they're supposed to have? And that makes you think about what you're doing. And you make adjustments, and I like the concept of family meetings. We used to have that all the time. And coming from school, picking up, mine never walked to school or back home either. But when she was young in the grammar school, when I'd be picking her up, I'd always have a bunch of change that I already counted out. Them kids love them Happy Meals and whatnot. So by the time I got to the McDonald's, she'd have to count that change I had exactly in order for me to stop to get that Happy Meal. So I used that, almost her about that. So it was great doing it. We're seeing the rewards now. She still calls me and talks to me, asks me questions about different things about life and whatnot, especially dealing with them Europeans out there at that hospital. Uh, but anyway, things are working out well, and I also agree you got to have all that shape, physical, spiritual, and mental health when you're dealing with kids. I remember one time I took my daughter to a basketball game. We were playing somewhere, and the kids got to fighting and going on. I'm trying to break this thing up and push the, the two forces back from each other. we got a whole leave. My daughter said, "Dad, I didn't know you could move that fast." I like, yeah, I do what I have to,
Mm-hmm.
danger, But anyway, kids is kids, and they all, they need counseling and guidance all the time because a lot of them don't get it at all. Uh, and when you have them for an hour a day, however long a teacher has them or a counselor or whatever, you got to give them what you got. Pass along what was given to you. I know I was I was kept out of trouble by Maxine Kemp and Lee Athens Jones. Kind of saved me when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
He was bad, but you never was disrespectful. I never was disrespectful to him, but I still was doing my little dirt. So you know, and I also always look to the elders in my neighborhood to get advice from. I'd always talk to the older brothers that are willing to share, because when those daddies around me that raised in the projects, and police killed my father when I was 10. My stepfather worked 2 jobs every day and then drank when he wasn't working. He just worked me like a slave, which is cool because I learned how to take care of household, yard, and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, you just pass on the lessons that you learned, and hopefully whoever you pass them on to will utilize them. So
That's important. And the element I was going to get to beyond spirituality is, and as I close, the importance of nutrition and health. You do it at a young age, and you sound like um, turn fast food joints into like crack houses and dope houses, salt and sugar. You do it with a kid when they're young, then they develop a habit of eating more nutritionally. But when you try to, after you fed them, you have to keep on because they almost have to go through withdrawal to get all those additives and flavors out their psyche, and it's very hard. Hey, Rashaki, take us on in. You on mute?
Let me share what we got going for the rest of the week and next week. We got a 5th anniversary show next week. Just 1 second here. Get back to the website.
I thought that was tomorrow.
No, the 10th. Here we go. Here's the website. Go to the home page. So we have tomorrow. We got Brother Quabana coming on. So it's the topic is rap fatigue and rap brown. So he's gonna talk about a part of the rap, something they have going on in rap, and then gonna talk about H. Rap Brown. And then on Thursday we have Leon Mobley for Roots Reggae Reasoning Sessions. It's a percussionist extraordinaire. And then next week on Wednesday we got the 5-year anniversary of the CEN show, and we're going to celebrate Professor Amin Rahh as our host tonight. He was our first guest we had back 5 years ago on December 10th. So that's exactly 5 years ago. We're going to have the same guest, and we're honoring him. So it should be a great night. Looking forward to that one for sure. But all
All
the
right,
shows. So that's what we got going.
all right, all right. I'm trying to get Dr. Segun Shabak out of New York, and I made contact with this brother of Prince, the Compton Pride, City Pride magazine, and brother Joe Brown. Charles Brown from the Historical Society. They're lined up to be my guest speaker. I'll let you know which one's coming on tomorrow.
Okay.
I want to tell everybody it was a pleasure. It was a treasure to be with y'all every Tuesday to have these discussions. It keeps our brain ticking where we don't get Alzheimer's. It keeps us thinking and keep us moving and keeping us discussing worldly issues. And, when I say this, I'm not just saying it to you, I'm saying it to myself. I mean, it keeps you going. I mean, sometimes I'd be sick. I mean, that dialysis wiped me out. And Rashaki called me and said, I'm coming on. He said, no, you need to rest. I said, no, I'm coming on. And I gotta do this. This is what keeps me going. So it's a beautiful thing. And it's good always when Joe Hembrick show up, because he's always a deep thinker and courageous questions. And that's what we want. And brother, you keep doing what you're doing. I love it, man. Every time I call you, you somewhere. All right. So we'll see each other. What did you say, Rashaki?
Tomorrow,
We're taking our pause until
we're
tomorrow.
taking our pause and each one teach one in Conscious Corner. Everybody continue to have a great day.
All right. Later.
All right.